keeping you up to speed with the latest weekend headlines now. It's the ITV News.
An investigation begins into why the Plymouth gunman was given his weapon back by the police. Jake Davison's gun and licence were only returned to him last month after being confiscated. He went on to kill 5 people. Tonight, the faces of all his victims are pictured for the first time.
It's tragic beyond words, really, really tragic, for a range of reasons, and obviously those involved. And I'm sure everyone would have known each other, and this will really touch so many people's lives.
Also tonight, remarkable rescues after a powerful earthquake hits Haiti, but more than 200 are feared dead. One of Afghanistan's most important cities falls to the Taliban's relentless takeover. And packed stands return to football as Manchester United score 5 against Leeds.
This is ITV News with Duncan Golestani.
Good evening. Prayers will be said in churches across Devon tomorrow in memory of the 5 victims of Thursday's shooting. The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, visited the scene today and described the killings as tragic beyond words. The police watchdog is investigating why police decided to give a gun back to the man who carried out the shootings. It had been taken off Jake Davison last December following an allegation of assault. From Plymouth, Chloe Keedy reports.
Today, we learned a little more about these 5 lives, but nothing that can help anyone understand why they were taken. 51-year-old Maxine Davison was her son's first victim, then Lee Martin and his 3-year-old daughter Sophie. We now know Stephen Washington was a 59-year-old carer out for a walk when he was attacked. And this is 66-year-old Kate Shepherd, a retired teacher who died of her injuries in hospital. Not everybody in Keyham knew them personally, but most are still trying to process their loss. This is a quiet, close community, clinging together.
We left our candles here last night, but we just wanted to relight what was already here to keep it burning.
Everyone's come together and shown their support. Yeah, definitely. And
it won't just be today, it'll be for a long time to come.
Yeah.
Barbara works in the local supermarket, and here she says that means you get to know everyone. Lee Martin and Maxine Davison were 2 of her regulars.
She was a lovely lady. I loved her. She was really nice and very kind lady. Things like this doesn't happen in Plymouth.
Caitlin is still trying to process what she witnessed that evening. After seeing one of the victims being given CPR in the street, her first thought was to rush to the nearest playground and help get children inside.
I definitely think people are angry and frustrated as to why this could have happened and why they couldn't see anything before.
22-year-old Jake Davison was in legal possession of a shotgun and a shotgun licence. There are now questions about why both had been returned to him by police weeks before he carried out his deadly attack.
Were the checks done correctly?
But the Home Secretary wasn't giving any answers today. She visited Keyham to lay flowers and offer her condolences to people who live here.
Okay, so a lot of people will be affected by this as well. I mean, it's tragic beyond words, really, really tragic, for a range of reasons, and obviously those involved.
Forensics officers were today focused on finding answers as the police watchdog began its own investigation into how their force handled this case.
How on earth did he get a gun licence in the first place? What background checks were done? So I'm glad there's the investigation already into why the licence was returned. I do think there's wider questions here.
But today was about remembering the people who died. Plymouth Argyle held a minute's silence before their home game. It is quiet too in Keyham. This is a community still very much in shock. I think over the coming days, people will continue to come together to show their support. The Bishop of Exeter has written a special prayer for the victims, and that will be read at church services across Devon tomorrow. There'll also be a minute's silence in their memory at 11 o'clock on Monday morning. Look, there has been a real sense of sadness here today, as you'd expect, but there's also been a sense of solidarity, and I think that's something that we'll be seeing more of in the days and weeks to come.
Chloe, thank you. A powerful earthquake has hit the Caribbean island of Haiti, killing more than 200 people. The country is still struggling to recover from a devastating earthquake a decade ago. But as Ellie Pitts reports, amid today's rubble, there have been some remarkable rescues.
A woman clings to life and her rescuer after surviving a building collapsing around her. Moments later, a child is pulled from beneath the rubble too. Friends, family and neighbours must carry each other to safety. Homes and shops have been reduced to bricks and dust in the wake of the 7.2 magnitude earthquake. It's a reminder that man's efforts are no match for nature's power. The extent of the damage is still not known, and the head of Haiti's Civil Protection Agency told a press conference he couldn't say a specific number of people killed. Tonight, it's suggested that more than 200 have died. The epicenter of the earthquake is nearly 80 miles west of the capital, Port-au-Prince. But the whole country has been placed into a state of emergency. Today will feel all too familiar to some Haitians as the memories of the earthquake 11 years ago return. Then an estimated 250,000 people were killed, and the scars it left on Haiti have not fully healed. Once more, an earthquake that lasted seconds has caused damage that will take years to recover from. Ellie Pitt, ITV News.
The Taliban have captured another of Afghanistan's biggest cities and are closing in on the capital, Kabul. Mazar-e-Sharif fell to the insurgents as the president tried to reassure the country in a nationwide TV address. And in the past few minutes, the US President, Joe Biden, has ordered another 1,000 troops into Kabul to protect and help repatriate US diplomats and their families. Mark Mallet has the latest.
Somewhere in the mountains surrounding Afghanistan's capital city, the Taliban is getting ready. Its fighters have been taking control of most of the country's local provincial capitals. Their latest capture, the heavily defended northern city of Mazar-e-Sharif, Afghanistan's fourth largest city. The Afghan President Ashraf Ghani flew to Mazar-e-Sharif earlier this week to rally the city's defences, his attempts seemingly futile. Unverified videos have appeared on social media over the last couple of days. These are reportedly Taliban fighters on the march. Not much is standing in their way. But it's the speed of this military offensive that has perhaps surprised people the most. In just 3 weeks, the US will withdraw its troops from the country, ending America's longest war. Some people believe that the last 20 years have achieved very little.
Nothing's changed, basically. What were their goals? I don't think many of them were accomplished, because you see how rapidly everything came back to the situation that was before.
And is there a great deal of shock at what has happened here?
Indeed. Nobody expected them to progress so fast.
These are some of the 600 British troops who'll be arriving in Kabul this weekend. But rather than mounting any sort of fight back, their role is to help evacuate UK diplomats and citizens. The Afghan president has vowed not to give up the achievements made since the US toppled the Taliban. But with the US pulling out and the Taliban moving in, something will eventually have to give. Mark Mallet, ITV News.
Here, there's a warning that thousands of people with possible cancer symptoms could be risking their lives by not seeking medical checks. It's feared many people aren't coming forward as they don't want to be seen as a burden on the health service because of the pandemic. Graham Stothard spoke to one patient who regrets not getting checked earlier.
It was during the first lockdown Andy started feeling symptoms. He ignored them and convinced himself they would go away. But they didn't.
I was living in denial, just putting it off. Maybe it'd go away next week or the following week. Maybe it's something I was eating. But by the time it got to October, beginning of November, then I got in touch with my doctor.
She referred him on, he had tests done, and in December, he got the bad news. Stage 2 bowel cancer.
I was just shocked. I mean, my wife broke down. She just couldn't believe it. But my surgeon was full of confidence that, because it was stage 2, we can battle this.
His is not an isolated case. According to NHS bosses, he's one of thousands possibly risking their lives by not getting checked early.
If you come forward and are diagnosed with a cancer at an early stage, your chance of being cured and being a long-term survivor is 5 to 10 times that of someone who unfortunately comes later on.
New research has shown 60% of people are worried about burdening the NHS, and nearly 50% of us are more likely to delay treatment compared to before the pandemic. To combat this, a new campaign, Help Us, Help You, is being launched.
Patients are very intuitive. Patients know when something isn't right, and they tell us all the time that often, if they have been reassured by other members of the family or potentially healthcare professionals, they persisted because they knew that something wasn't right. And so we would urge anyone in that situation to continue to seek help in order to try and be diagnosed.
Symptoms vary widely depending on the cancer. Andy caught his in time. He had surgery on the 15th of December, and this photo was taken the day he found out he was cancer-free.
Do you remember that, Matt?
Yeah, definitely.
After the operation?
He put together a book of such photographs to remind himself of the doctors and nurses who saved his life and gave him more time with his family. Graham Stothard, ITV News.
For the first time in a long time, tens of thousands of football fans packed stands up and down the country as football's first full Saturday fixture list of the new season got underway. And as Stuart Silvers reports, Manchester United got off to a flying start with 5 goals against Leeds.
The fans back inside Old Trafford, starting with a minute's applause for those that both these famous clubs lost during lockdown. And after 29 minutes, the sound once more of the home crowd cheering a Manchester United goal.
And Bruno Fernandes scores Manchester United's first Premier League goal of the season.
Leeds hit back early in the second half, a goal for the many travelling fans to remember.
Bailey with a chance to shoot, and he does! Oh, that's brilliant!
But the home side were back in front within 4 minutes.
But here goes the speedy Greenwood. Good bits for Manchester United.
Then Fernandes took over, keeping his cool before goal line technology confirmed his second. No debate about his third, the finish of a player brimming with confidence.
In for the hat-trick, anything else?
And there was no stopping Manchester United now. 4 goals in 14 minutes.
It's Fred.
Football's just not been the same without the fans. Stuart Silvers, ITV News.
And that is it for now. The weather is next. From all of us here on the Weekend Team, thank you for watching and good night.